No. Mm-mm.
Oh, you experienced this
When?
when you came the last time you used
Oh.
it. I think the first time you experienced it. I was still along the street. I'm not even done because of these pages that are being reported. I have to start looking for. Thank God for the app on my phone.
Hello and welcome to Weekend File. We're live in Abuja. Now, the 2023 presidential election may have come and gone, ushering in a new president-elect and National Assembly members to steer the affairs of the country for the next 4 years. Now, the battleground has shifted to states as political parties battle in the trenches for control of 28 states' governorship seats up for grabs and state assemblies. Now, while planning matures for the upcoming election, myriad of issues arising from the presidential polls ranging from the functionality of the Vivas, deployment of human and material resources across some hard-to-reach terrain, late distribution of voter materials, limited time for voting, lack of IRF uploading of results, among other issues. Now, this is a Herculean task the election umpire must surmount to get it right. To this effect, INEC has assured Nigerians that despite these challenges which are being rectified, the March 11 state elections will hold as scheduled, as all processes and procedures for a successful election are being finalized in order to avoid voter apathy rearing its head, as shown in the number of voters at the presidential election compared to the number of electorates who collected their PVCs. Now, what can be done to improve the conduct of the elections? Are voters fully mobilized to participate? What can be done to avoid the challenges encountered during the conduct of the February 25th election? And what are expectations of stakeholders for a smooth conduct of the state elections? These and more we shall be digging into with my guest, Professor Kabir Matu, Professor of Political Science. I am Jummai Yusuf. Let's get the news. President Muhammadu Buhari is in Doha, state of Qatar, ahead of the 5th United Nations Conference on the least developed countries beginning on Sunday. This followed an invitation by the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari arrives Emir D1 wing of Hamad International Airport about 9:30 Saturday evening local time. On hand to receive him was a high-powered Qatari government delegation, Nigeria's ambassador to Qatar, secretary to the government of the federation, several ministers and other senior government officials. At the UN conference with the theme From Potential to Prosperity, President Buhari will vigorously reiterate the need for sustainable solutions for countries facing challenges of poverty, adverse effects of climate change, food and energy crises, as well as high debt burden, amongst others. The summit, to be attended by world leaders, the private sector, civil society and youth organizations, is aimed at sharing developmental ideas and mobilizing political will, solidarity, action and solutions towards the transformation of the least developed countries by finding sustainable solutions to, amongst others, the challenges of poverty, food insecurity, hunger, as well as weak or non-existent infrastructure.
We are not certainly among the 46 nations that are classified as being the least developed, but 70% of this number is in Africa. And all of the problems of the world are around these few countries. They have about 14% of the global population, but put together all of their GDP is less than 1.3% of the global GDP. In terms of export of manufactured goods, they control less than 1%. So they are bedevilled by so many things: debt crisis, problems of borrowing, hunger, insecurity, compounded by climate change, and all of the things that have been generated by global recession and the coronavirus epidemic. So this meeting, perhaps more than even the General Assembly of the United Nations, it is to bring everyone together, the least developed and those that are developed, to talk about the problems of these countries that need to be supported, need to be pulled up so that they can also grow, so that together there will be global inclusion, solidarity, the political will that is needed to bring development and progress to these disadvantaged peoples.
During the visit, various agreements and memoranda of understanding are expected to be signed between Nigeria and the Qatari government. From Doha, the state of Qatar, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Glitches experienced in the upload of polling unit results at the presidential and National Assembly elections will not repeat itself in the March 11 polls, and staff engaged in unprofessional conduct will not participate in subsequent elections. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu said this at a meeting with resident electoral commissioners in Abuja. Mayor Ogidi reports.
It is 1 week after the presidential and National Assembly elections. INEC chairman meeting resident electoral commissioners for post-mortem. Professor Mahmoud Yakubu visibly not happy with some challenges encountered during the exercise, particularly in the upload of polling unit results.
Since last week, the commission has intensified the review of the technology to ensure that glitches experienced, particularly with the upload of results, are rectified. We are confident that going forward, the system will run optimally. All staff found to be negligent, whether they are regular or ad hoc officials, including collation and returning officers, must not be involved in the forthcoming elections. RECs must also immediately initiate disciplinary action where prima facie evidence of wrongdoing has been established against any staff involved in the election, whether regular or ad hoc.
Despite these challenges, 7 political parties won 98 senatorial seats, while 8 political parties won 325 House of Representatives seats. APC coming top, then PDP, LP, NNPP, SDP, YPP and ADC.
While supplementary elections will be held in 46 constituencies.
March 11, 2023 is another day of contest for 28 governorship seats and 993 state houses of assembly slots.
The bimodal voter accreditation system, the BVAS, will once again be deployed for voter accreditation and result management.
After this contest, attention will be shifted to Kogi and Bayelsa states governorship elections slated for November this year. Mie Ogedi, NTA News.
Amalgamated All Progressives Congress Support Group says there is no victor, no vanquished at the end of the 25th February 2023 presidential contest that produced Bola Ahmed Tinubu as winner. The support group equally pledged peaceful conduct in the forthcoming governorship and state assembly elections. Saliu Wanara reports.
Re-election is the 7th since the return of democracy in 1999. At the center of it is the nation's electoral body, saddled with the responsibility of ensuring free, fair and credible elections. Several reforms have been made towards sanitizing the process. Most recent is the introduction of the BVAS machine for accreditation of voters and electronic transmission of results. The just concluded presidential and national assembly elections are judged to be the best so far in the history of Nigerian democracy.
I am calling on the good people of Kaduna State to still continue and even take it to a higher level of cooperating so that we have a successful governorship and state assembly elections.
However, there are concerns raised by stakeholders that needs to be addressed before the governorship and state assembly elections.
So please, INEC should work hard whenever they are recruiting their ad hoc staff, most especially the RACOs, the SPOs, and then the POs.
This INEC say it will work on to improve on its performance in the next outing.
We need to improve on the aspect of officials coming early to polling to collect their material for election to the polling units, and again with respect to the operationalization of the BVAS machines, I think we need to do a little more to improve on that as well, and then 1 or 2 little other things.
With these assurances by the INEC, Nigerians are looking forward to a more credible, free and fair elections. Achari Maxwell, NTA News.
That's Achari Maxwell's report from NTA Kaduna Network Center. Now let's bring you up to speed with other news making the rounds. Nigeria is marking the 2023 World Wildlife Day with official presentation of the Rapid Reference Guide to combat wildlife and forest crimes in the country. Onegie Fineface reports.
World Wildlife Day 2023 also marks 50 years of the signing of the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, CITES. In commemorating Wildlife Day this year, the federal government is providing a collection of relevant and extant laws pertaining to wildlife crimes in Nigeria, contained in the Rapid Reference Guide.
Its objectives include strengthening national cooperation and coordination among law enforcement agencies, increasing knowledge of prosecutors and investigators on the handling of wildlife and forest crime-related issues, increasing the number of successful prosecutions of cases.
The guide aims to tackle environmental and climate change problems using nature-based solutions through sustainable management of forests, protection and conservation of biodiversity, as well as improved agroforestry practices.
This guide is also our collective hope will equip investigators and prosecutors alike with the necessary knowledge and skills to effectively develop and present cases and obtain meaningful sentences with appropriate potential to deter future offenders.
The Rapid Reference Guide is developed by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, with support from the German government. Onengie Fineface, NTA News.
The Nigerian Society of Engineers has called for the full implementation of executive orders signed by President Muhammadu Buhari for the promotion of Nigeria content in contracts, science, engineering, technology, while planning and executing projects across the country. This was at a press conference addressed by the professional body in Abuja on the 2023 World Engineering Day with the theme, Engineering Innovations for a More Resilient World. Tope Alabi reports.
UNESCO, since 2020, designated the 4th of March as World Engineering Day for Sustainable Development and to celebrate engineers. The President, Nigerian Society of Engineers, Tasiu Saad Gidari Wudil, says the professional body is spearheading development of its members to meet the demands of the 4th Industrial Revolution, and as such decried the influx of expatriates of equal qualifications with their Nigerian counterparts and some without requisite skills.
We have noticed over the years that certain critical sections of the executive order are not being fully implemented. Our checks have revealed that despite the abundance of database for engineers, technologists, and artisans skilled in engineering in Nigeria, what we find in many construction sites across the country are expatriates of equal or inferior qualifications. We do not find this acceptable.
Engineers are usually not involved when the policies are being made. But implementation is what we are invited for. So we are calling on government to involve us more.
Highlights of the program is a tour of the indigenous innovations exhibited by members and the inauguration of the new president of the Students' Association. In Abuja, Tokbe Alabi, NTA News.
Communities affected by perennial flooding in Muriji and Ketso in Mwakwa local government area of Niger State will finally breathe a sigh of relief with the construction of 160 housing units in the area. The housing scheme, courtesy of the Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission, HYPODEC, will cost 768 million naira. Fatima Aliu reports that the permanent place of abode for the flood victims located upland is expected to be completed within 3 months.
In communities along rivers Niger and Kaduna in Niger State always have a tale of woe to tell at the peak of every rainy season due to perennial flooding, destroying lives and property, farmlands inclusive. Several efforts by successive administrations to relocate the affected communities have not yielded positive results, leaving the victims to the agony of intermittent displacement and reoccurring ecological challenge. It is therefore in fulfillment of its mandate that the Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission, HYPODEC, is marching words with action to provide a permanent solution of the construction of 160 housing units in Murigi and Keto to resettle the affected communities in Mokwa local government area of Niger State.
This area is supposed to accommodate 12 communities that always suffer from flooding for the past 25 years. We decided to consider this project as a significant one and approve the construction of 120 housing units here and 40 housing units in Keso.
We shall collaborate with HYPODEC once more to provide proper access route to Murigi and Keso communities. The electrification program to Murigi is ongoing.
I also want to advise the Commission to simultaneously establish a quick committee that will ensure the movement of everyone that is concerned.
The noble initiative, which is a demonstration of HYPODEC's commitment to riverine communities, will be replicated across the 6 seats of the Commission. Fatima Aliu, NTA News.
150 winners in Kellogg's Tolaram Superstar 4.0 essay competition have been awarded scholarship of 150,000 naira each as education expenses for 1 year. The company, one of Nigeria's leading food and beverages makers, say the scholarship is its own way of assisting the government to address the increasing number of out-of-school children in Nigeria. Hingino John Adams reports.
I love Kellogg's Cocoa Pop because it's not every
There you have some of the 150 winners of the 4th edition of Kellogg's Superstar Essay Writing Competition, reading the pieces that made them superstars. They demonstrated their writing skills with emphasis on the importance of starting the day with a healthy breakfast, which is Kellogg's. National Marketing Manager Kellogg's Tolaram said about 320,000 entries with the topic "My Start to a Great Day" were submitted by pupils across the country from age 5 to 12. He urged parents and schools of the winners to ensure that the money is used only for educational purpose.
We started with 100,000 naira for 100 kids, and today we've grown to 150,000 naira for 150 kids, which is a plus. And we are looking at, like the advice I was giving out today, we are looking into that, how we can improve every year for families and kids and to improve educational level in Nigeria.
Commissioner for Education, Lagos State, who was represented, commended Kellogg's Tolaram for contributing towards further development of education in the country.
Kellogg is one of the products in Lagos that is doing well, and because this is a center of excellence, we cherish relationship with excellent companies. So that's what informs our relationship with Kellogg's.
The superstars were presented with their checks, and 1,000 kids went home with consolation prizes. Kellogg's has remained a popular brand among children across the country who have come to identify not just with the tasty products such as Kellogg's Cocoa Pops and cornflakes from the stable of the brand, but also embraced the platform it offered for their educational growth. In Lagos, Hinginu John Adams, NTA News.
What would have been a major disaster was averted by Providence when a moving truck ran into a faulty stationary one around Jere-Kateri section of Abuja-Kaduna Expressway, which left many injured this Friday. Esu Ebodi reports and brings us the situation report.
Vehicular movement at the Jere-Kateri section of the busy Abuja-Kaduna Expressway came to stand still for hours as a mini trailer ran into another stationary trailer, leading to an accident with persons on board sustaining different degrees of injury. Officials of the Road Safety Corps arrived promptly and embarked on rescue operation, the victims taken to a nearby hospital.
We are on the way. When we are coming, me and the driver see our motor. We are following him at the back. Some of the people are injured. Their leg don't break.
While appealing to the government to embark on repair works on deplorable sections of the road, drivers especially of articulated vehicles to maintain average speed limits to avert avoidable accidents. Esu Edodi, NTA News.
We'll take a break now. You're watching Weekend File on NTA. We're live in Abuja. The gains of the presidential and National Assembly elections must not be allowed to be washed away by little lapses. Some Nigerians believe what should be done for authorities to work on improving on the observed challenges ahead of the 11th of March governorship and state assembly elections. Joseph Osen has an overview of the last elections and lessons learned ahead of the coming polls.
Presidential and National Assembly elections conducted and winners emerged. Next is the governorship and State House of Assembly elections coming up 11th of March 2023. INEC has announced no fewer than 837 candidates will be participating in the governorship elections in 28 states, and 10,240 candidates will also be vying for 993 State House of Assembly seats. Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi, Anambra, Edo, Ekiti, Ondo and Osun states are all off-circle for the governorship elections. The presidential and National Assembly elections sent shockwaves across the country, with many pondering if the voting pattern will repeat itself or there will be changes. The competitive trend of the elections, with each of the top 3 leading candidates winning in 12 states, was a remarkable first in Nigeria's modern political era. For many, this was a reflection of the diversity of viewers that characterize the campaigns and the wishes of Nigerian voters.
It shows that Nigerians went out and exercised their franchise. But again, will it be the same when it comes to gubernatorial or House of Assembly? It's come see, come sa, as they said, 50-50. But the most important thing is people looked at the personality, not the party.
Interestingly, a good number of Nigerians demonstrated high desire to exercise their franchise, especially the youth, who were seen early in most polling units ready to cast their votes. Even as the numbers of participation was declared lower than previous elections since 1999, observers believe the introduction of beavers perhaps was the game changer.
Your face was matched to your biometrics. And if both don't match, you can't vote. You couldn't have voted. And that is substantial.
The beavers succeeded in making sure that we cut out overvoting, rigging, such frivolous numbers we've seen before in the past. And that is why we are seeing this 26.7% voter turnout. I've been to polling units where you see in a place where they have 1,000 registered voters, usually just about 200 or 25%, 200 or 250 persons come out to vote. But by the time the election is done, they will do more. They will now do manual accreditation and tick all the names on the voter register, and one person will do multiple thumb printing. And at the end of the day, the result that will come out from that polling unit will now be reflecting 700 persons, while in the actual sense, only 200 persons voted.
By the Electoral Act, it's compulsory that these results have to be uploaded from the polling units.
But the elections are not short of squabbles, with some of the political parties already seeking litigations. Many are asking why INEC could not upload results from the polling units in real time, as it earlier assured the electorate and election observers. Absence of logo of one of the political parties in the contest on the ballot paper in one of the states raised eyebrows. Late arrival of election officials and materials in some polling units and reported cases of intimidations of voters in some states are among issues many want relevant authorities to take note and address ahead of the 11th of March governorship and state assembly elections.
And in some places, you saw some political actors who were insisting that if you will not vote for a particular political party, that you should go back. And in all of those situations, if you look around, there were policemen in those videos. It goes to say that the security personnel know who these people are. And by now, we should be seeing arrests across the country to be able to tell us that in the next election that there won't be, that the Nigerian police and the security personnel will have zero tolerance for this kind of miscreants that we saw in the last election.
All our advice is that this time around, materials will arrive the polling units as early as possible.
And before the election, they should find a way to release money for the masses. Many people need to travel back home, but without the money, you cannot travel. If you go to the park will tell you they are not collecting transfer. So how can you travel back home to go and cast your vote?
But the most important thing for we women, we must come out. And we are pleading with our men and our children that here we have tried the men, not once, not twice, not thrice. Give us this opportunity to do it.
In few days, Nigerians will be going back to the polls, and the question on the minds of many is, will the voting pattern remain same? These experts say will be depending on how the political gladiators handle the outcome of the February 15 elections and keep the spirit of the electorate high. In Abuja, Joseph Utsen, NTA News.
And I'm being joined in the studio by my guest, Kabir Mato. He's a professor of political science. Thank you for joining us. He's joining us from Kaduna Network Center.
Good evening, Jumai. Good evening, Nigeria.
Okay, thank you. From all expectations, strong assurance coming from the electoral umpire there on the conduct of the election that will take place on the 11th of March, that is state governorship and House of Assembly elections. Strong assurance, what is your take?
Well, I think judging from the performance of the Independent National Electoral Commission during the just concluded presidential and national assembly elections has clearly shown the fact that INEC has performed creditably very well. Of course, there are minor hitches that were identified by those who observed the election, and indeed the two leading opposition parties that trailed behind the candidature of the president-elect, Ahmed Bola Tinubu. But I want to think that, INEC is prepared, and I believe that all the major problems that have been identified, the major opposition parties, if I may say, in my humble understanding of their contestation, they are not arguing about the integrity of the elections, but they are having problems with the manner in which the collation took place and perhaps the inability of INEC, to transmit or upload, these results from the polling stations, to the server. So the argument, as far as I'm concerned, is more technical than real. It's more technical real in the sense that they are not challenging the integrity of the fact that, in fact, the argument that they are raising stems from the fact that they believe that a free, fair, and credible election was conducted by Nigerian, voters, but INEC, in its wisdom, failed in its promise to be able to transmit this result as it did promise Nigerians earlier on. Now there are two, contending forces here. There are two directions of argument. One is that those who lost the election are saying that the process of collation and transmission has resulted in unfortunate manipulation of the figures to the extent that each of them, both Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar, are claiming they were duly elected. That's one dimension of it. On the other hand, I think INEC is saying that, yes, due to a lot of logistical issues and perhaps even the relative insecurity within the ICT space, it was unable to meet with that promise. But then again, the debate going forth and back about the provision in the Electoral Act, whether it is mandatory for INEC to upload immediately from the polling station or not, remains among another issue of contestation. So I am saying that the elections conducted last Saturday has been acceptable to most Nigerians, especially those who were candidates in that election and who felt they were should change somewhere within the process after the real election has taken place. So I think what INEC really needs to do is to look at the possibilities of putting all the infrastructure in the right dimension and without unnecessary interruption or interference from those savvy political actors that may decide to attack and cause confusion in that area. And so I think again, theory of elections have shown, Jumai, that elections at lower level tend to have more voter turnout than elections at higher level. For instance, next week we're going to have the state assemblies and the governorship elections. They are closer to the people than the National Assembly and the presidential election. So we are likely going to see a larger voter turnout. And at the end of the day, many people have said that the electoral system is now being crafted in such a way that it is almost impossible for you to bulldoze your way as we used to see in the past. And this clearly shows from the pattern of electoral victories and defeats by the major political parties in the last election. I mean, the last time we had the semblance of this was in 1999 when the military conducted elections. And you had many political parties to the extent that at that time, between 1999 and 2003, in both the Senate and the House of Representatives, you didn't have a minority leader, but you had the majority leader, you have an APP leader, you have an AD leader, and so on and so forth. Translating to mean that different Nigerians were able to carry out the right to elect those they wanted to without necessary infringement. That wasn't what we saw in 2003. That wasn't what we saw in 2007. That wasn't even what we saw in 2011. It was from 2015, with the introduction of these new methodologies of doing elections that we began to see some semblances of true aspirations and desires of the people in the representatives that they elect to various levels of government. So I'm very optimistic that on Saturday next week, INEC should be able to do better than it did during the Presidential National Assembly election. But importantly, the attitude of the Nigerian people, especially the political class, must also be attuned with the desire and aspiration to have free, fair, and credible election. No matter how much INEC will put in, its guts together to do a credible election, the moment the political elite are unwilling to subordinate themselves to the wishes and aspirations of the people through the electoral process, then, of course, achieve results. So the most important call, in my view, should be to the political class. The political class must make sure that they subordinate themselves to what the peoples of this country would eventually decide. If we get that, then I assure you that the next election will also be as credible or even more credible than the one we had last.
You're welcome back. As the nation prepares for the governorship election, developments arising during the presidential election that affected the process in some areas, stakeholders say must be addressed to prevent a snowball effect on the exercise. Larry Egbele reports that the respondents also emphasized on other issues that must be looked into to chart the way forward.
The just concluded presidential elections recorded events that affected the voting process in some parts of the country, making it fall short of expectations for those in the areas where they occurred. These incidents include late commencement of voting in some polling units, low turnout of voters on some areas, and violence in some polling units. For the nation's electoral body, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Lagos, it is time for reassessment.
We are going to sit down with my management, we look at the areas of challenges, and then we'll find a way out so that going forward will not be as tedious as what we went through, particularly in the area of transportation.
The Nigerian Police Force Lagos State Command, in its stakeholders meeting after the presidential election, reiterated commitment to ensuring the security structure in the state is fortified.
We have also upscaled our deployments across all identified flashpoints and vulnerable localities, while also sustaining patrols and visibility policing across the public space in order to reassure Lagosians of their safety.
Lagos State chapter of the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, IPAC, has also highlighted areas to be improved upon for the coming election.
INEC has to things they have to do better in the next election. On the beavers, let them search for the best network for a particular area.
A 48-year-old Anoluwa Yinka, living with disability, attended the stakeholders meeting to assess the presidential election. He listed expectations for the upcoming gubernatorial exercise.
There are some of us who have low vision, who can use the magnifying lenses. We want to see those things as promised. We want to see them at our various polling units.
Stakeholders also advocate continuous voter education, not only for the electorate, but also the ad hoc staff of INEC. In Lagos, Larry Egbele, NTA News.
My guest, Professor Kabiru Mato, Professor of Political Science, is still here with me in the studio. You talked about the political class, setting up and ensuring that the elections in the state, gets better, because the trenches is where, the candidates will be right now campaigning for the governorship and assembly elections. Quite a huge number, more than 800 for governorship, 18 political parties, and more than 10,000 state assembly candidates contesting for the election. But stakeholders are also saying there's not enough voter education out there because voter apathy continues to rear its head.
Voter apathy has been a very big problem in Nigerian elections, and this is not, limited to Nigeria alone. If you take the history and stories of elections that are being conducted throughout Africa and even the Western world, you find that voter turnout has not been very encouraging in recent times, despite the fact that a lot of people might have registered but are unable to participate during election. And again, that's one of the tragedies of Western liberal democracy. If 93 million Nigerians are capable or qualified to vote, and only 10 or 14 or 15 million will come out and vote, they take the decision, on behalf of every other person. That's one of the, tragedies and beauties of Western liberal democracy again. But I think, one of the most important things that we must do is, I keep saying that political education is a big issue. It's one of the major functions of the Independent Electoral Commission itself, but, a primary role of political parties. But what our political parties have done more than any other thing else since 1990 has been to serve as mere vehicles on which pedestals, politicians aspire for political authority. So we must come back to this. And I'm happy that you can see that we're making substantial progress within our electoral system. Right? So one of the things that needs to be done again is to ensure that the composition of the leadership of political parties are such that will reflect the desires and aspirations of the people, and that will have the capacity to carry people along in whatever, how will they aggregate interest of their members? How will they articulate interest of their members? They can only do that successfully if they provide the much needed political education. And this is, seriously lacking in the current structure and forms of political parties that we have in this country. And they have to live up. Yes, we have about 7 days to the next elections. The political parties are, deeply in campaign season now. I think one of the things that they must do, realizing the low voter turnout that was experienced in the last election, they should be talking to, in several, constituencies where some people lost, one of the major excuses and reasons that have been presented is that our supporters did not go out to vote. And I think, a citizen must be in the full know that you are not complete if you don't take a decision on who provides leadership over you. If you don't do that, then I don't think it's your constitutional right not to vote, but I think it is better for you to take a decision. And we must also bear in mind that it is not all the times that those candidates that we vote for in an election that at the end of the day will become winners. We must always go to this process with an open mind of, I am selecting what I believe is the best for me or will provide the best services that I have or that I think it's better, for my society, for my state, for my country, for my constituency, etc., etc. But the moment we continue to deluge in the fact that the political party that we love and that is dominant in our polling unit, in our ward, or in our, local government must be the political party that will eventually win the election, regardless of, the huge number of people outside of my own immediate constituency, I think it's, again, another very big problem. So our attitude, Jumai, is fundamentally wrong as a people. I keep saying, as far back as 1983, President Shagari found it necessary to establish a Ministry of National Orientation, with Metamasule was made the minister. Unfortunately, it lasted only 3 months. The essence of that ministry was simply to be able to talk to Nigerians, walk Nigerians towards attitude transformation. We need to change our attitudes. We need to have a correct, frame of mind on any particular matter. Look at a presidential election that was conducted, and 2 people are saying, I am the winner, I am the winner. This is a product of that unwillingness of the Nigerian political elite to accept the wishes and aspirations of the people. If you believe you are, yes, gather your evidences and go to court. And if the court will find it fit to pronounce you, yes, as the legitimate, elected, representative or president of the Federal Republic, so be it. But as long as that is not done, and my greatest disappointment is to the candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar. I expected that no matter what, he is a field marshal in the field of politicking. He has been there for a long time. I thought that by now he should have congratulated. 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 He should.
You're welcome back. Amalgamated All Progressives Congress Support Group says there is no victor, no vanquished at the end of the 25th February 2023 presidential contest that produced Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president-elect. The group supports equally pledged peaceful conduct in the forthcoming governorship and state assembly elections. Saliu Gwanara reports.
The Director General of the group, Kailani Mohammed, acknowledged the peaceful atmosphere that characterized the conduct of the February 25th presidential election through the collective will by the people determined to develop democracy.
We congratulate the contestants at whatever level of the elections for their maturity in handling their supporters. We congratulate the Nigerian general public. The president-elect, Bola Asiwaju Ahmed, is assured as a president and commander-in-chief with a mandate of building a new Nigeria.
We urge those that are not satisfied with the result of the election to use the court as provided by the Constitution. Violence pays nobody. Let it be on record that as the largest voting bloc in Nigeria, we are standing by the mandate of His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and we will defend it by every means necessary.
Meanwhile, concerned stakeholders of the All Progressives Congress say intra-party peace building is inevitable as the party prepare for another round of election.
Election have alluded to this, that the defeat APC suffered in Nasarawa State was orchestrated by internal wrangling.
Through the display of unity of purpose, the groups say APC is in a better position to build on its success. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara,